Hello, and welcome to whatever this is. I think to the world it is a podcast, or at least that's where you will have gotten this, but in my mind I didn't really know what this is. In the folder on my computer it just says podcast project. It's August 11th. This is the first episode, and I have to admit, I didn't know what to say for this intro until just recently when I learned my friend who I interviewed for this first episode just died a few weeks ago. And now I'm literally just learning the last hour, and my hands are shaking a little bit, and this is a very, very weird feeling. But I think this really ties in with everything, with why, what the idea was for this to begin with. Because, I work in the film industry and in a few other industries I kind of dip my toe into, and you meet a lot of people along the way, and you become friends with a lot of people along the way. And I was just hanging out with some of these people, some of my friends who, to the outside world, they're nobody. It's not like you would know their name or anything. But then, they've been involved with a lot of projects that people do know, or people, or like famous people or whatever, that people would know. But we're the people in the background, we're the people behind the scenes. And I hear some incredible stories, and they're just telling me because they're my friend and we're hanging out and we're just, having a beer. And I thought, oh wow, it's such a shame that so many of these stories will be lost to the world. We're not talking like salacious, gossipy stories. Just, what I consider to be, like part of the history of the world, or the history of a project. I'm about to say a bit of an archivist. I'm probably quite an archivist. I'm someone who practically keeps everything in his life. Some might call that a hoarder. I'm not sure. I think it's a fine line. Maybe I'm in there. But that's kind of where the idea of this project came from. And this first episode, Mark, my friend Mark, who I talked to, was not who I was thinking of when I thought of, like the idea for this project, because Mark is still very young. But now just finding out that he died just a few weeks ago really, I guess, galvanizes the reason I did this, which is a really weird feeling. But yeah, like, it's really interesting because Mark he's a cinematographer, photographer, and he has, lensed a lot of people. And, like he's worked with so many different people and very, very famous people in the world. So how I met Mark from our talk, and even from when I originally Googled him when we first worked together, it's not like you can find like, gobs of interviews and whatever. And when we were talking, he was saying he was really appreciative of the fact that gave him this chance to talk about these things in his life. So the way we met was a few years ago. I was directing a commercial, and I had been told the client wanted a quote unquote big cinematographer. So instead of finding a cinematographer in Canada or whatever, they wanted to fly one from, another country like the States or Europe or whatever. And that is how I got to know Mark Lindsay. Is we worked together on a commercial. He was the cinematographer, I was the director, and we became fast friends. Like we just, I don't know, we just had a lot in common. Um, Things that normally, like it's not just normal things people would have in common, and we just got along really well. Um, and so when I thought about doing this project, I thought, oh, like who better than to talk to than Mark, because he has so much experience in the movie and TV and like advertising industry. Um, so weirdly, this first episode has now become my way of honoring my friend Mark Lindsay, cinematographer. And I've broken it up into 2 episodes because actually we talked for a really long time. So you understand the project. I'm really going for long form interviews, really like deep dives into the background and histories of the people we're talking to, because like when you listen to a lot of like promotional podcasts or promotional materials, which is one of the main reasons why celebrities or whoever go on shows, is right. They're there to promote a project. That is not the reason for this show, this project. Like I really wanted to go deep, like, and talk about little things, because like little things add up to big things, and little things in people's lives are what add up to what influence them and what kind of person they become and what they become interested in and why they want to do certain things, or like how they do certain things. Maybe they saw a movie they didn't like when they were a kid, and that's why they don't like a song or something. So that's kind of what I'm going for here. So the interviews has mostly been broken up because they're quite long. I mean, I think each one were like 3-4 hours. And I have to say, it feels very strange recording this, but I really felt like I wanted to preserve this moment, and I should do it while I'm still feeling these emotions. Because even when I was writing back to Mark's wife, Jess, because she's the one who emailed me back, because I was just emailing him to say, oh, hey, the podcast is going to come out soon. It was very hard. Like my hands were shaking. Like my fingers are tingling. But I really wanted to preserve this moment and acknowledge these feelings that I'm feeling. So, yeah, this first episode is with my friend Mark Lindsay, cinematographer. Rest in peace, my friend. Okay, so Mark Lindsay.
How are you, brother?
Good. So Mark and I know each other from a job up here when he had to fly all the way north of the 49th parallel
To the great white north, all the way to the beautiful city of Toronto.
That's right. Where Mark is a cinematographer, and he's shot so many people. It's insane. The stuff on your website.
Thank you. If they put them in front of my camera, I will shoot them.
And so, take me back to the beginning. I know we were talking yesterday, and you told me about your mom. Where were you born?
I was born originally in South Ruislip, England.
Oh, that's right.
Yes. So that's why we probably get along. There's that whole European connection there with the Queen, my Canadian friend,
the colonial masters.
Yes, exactly. The overlords. Yeah. So moved to the States when I was young, and we lived. We bounced around. I was a military brat. and we bounced around the states when I was young, and Colorado Springs, Fort Worth, Texas, just, and we ended up settling in Fort Worth, Texas, where my dad finally retired. That's where he was stationed at the time, and he and my mom really liked it there. It was a beautiful, quaint little town with the big bustling metropolis of Dallas, only 25 miles to the east. And they said, yeah, this is a great place to raise kids. And that was it. Myself and my two sisters, who were also, my younger sisters, who were also born in England. And that was it. That was our formative years in Fort Worth, Texas. And then I got out of Fort Worth as quickly as I could. as soon as I was old enough, and I finished school, I went into the Coast Guard.
Oh.
Yes, I did, and went through lots of training there and helping people, and after 7 years, I honestly don't remember. I think it was 6 years, maybe 7. Oh, at any rate, after that, got out of the Coast Guard, left there, and at the time, my sister was dating a key grip in the film industry in Dallas, Texas. And he worked on a show called Barney, the big purple dinosaur show.
They shot that in Texas?
They shot that in Dallas. They sure did, in Dallas, Texas. And I happened to visit the set one day, and I was just looking at what was going on there, and I was looking, I was going, I could do this. This looks interesting. And that's where I started. My very first job in the film industry was, I believe I was a PA on the filming of a Garth Brooks live concert at Dallas Cowboy Stadium. And then I did that one job, and then I immediately realized setting up tables and chairs for lunch is not for me. And I looked at grip, electric, camera, all those different departments, and I went into lighting, into the electric department. I really liked it. There's a lot of good, hard physical work there, but it was also a lot of technical work that I really enjoyed. I really appreciated, and I started working on that. At the time, I was living in Houston because that's where I had gotten out of the military, and I was residing there. So I called the Houston Chamber of Commerce, and I asked them, I go, yeah, is there anything that you guys can tell me about the film business here in Houston? And they go, yeah, I'll call the Houston Film Commission. I go, okay, great. I didn't even know we had one. I called the Houston Film Commission, and I said, do you have any type of book that has everybody's phone number in it? And they go, oh, you mean the Texas, or at the time it was the Houston Production Guide, or the Texas Production Guide. They go, yeah, we have the Texas Production Guide. And I said, great. Can I buy one of those? And they go, no, we'll just send it to you. What's your address? And I said, never. And I go, never mind that. What's your address? I'm coming to get it right now. I drove down to the Film Commission's office. I got this book, spiral-bound book, and it had everybody in it: production managers, producers, rental houses. I mean, all this stuff. And I called my brother-in-law, who is now my brother-in-law, but at the time was just dating my sister. And I called him and I said, who in this book do I need to call to get work? And he said, a production manager or a production coordinator. That's who you're looking for. I said, okay, great. So I went down the list of people and I called every single one of them. I gave them my name and my phone number. And email wasn't really a big thing back then, if that's dating myself. But I went ahead and did the whole 9 yards and sold myself, did a couple of really low budget jobs to get going, and then finally locked in with a crew of guys who, to this day, I can still say I am friends with. One of them is now in Atlanta. His name's Danny Murphy, and he gaffs a little show called Stranger Things. You may have heard of that.
I think so.
Yeah, I don't know. It's some kid's show. I don't know. I've heard something about it. But and then there was Ty Chenault, and Ty Chenault lives in upstate New York, and Ty works on all the big shows that are in New York. I mean, he's just a big baller up there. He's a great guy, and I work with those guys locally doing commercials and industrial videos, corporate things and stuff like that as an electrician. And then, of course, whenever a feature would come into town, the electricians and grips would get sucked into that feature for, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks, however long it was. And through doing that, I met my closest friend in the world. His name is Glenn Moran. Glenn, at the time, was a best boy, and I had gotten hired on as an electrician to do the movie Powder. The gaffer on that movie was a guy by the name of Andy Ryan, and Glenn Moran was his best boy. And Andy he's an incredible gaffer to start out with, but he is a figure that is larger than life. Andy has a personality that is just out. I mean, you've got to be prepared to handle Andy Ryan's personality. He's a great dude and a phenomenal gaffer. But Andy does movies like he does all the Transformer movies. He does The Rock, the Nick Cage, Sean Connery movie. He does.
I have that movie on Criterion.
Yeah, wait, let me think. Did he do that, or did Les Kovacs do that? You know what? Andy might not have done that. He might not. I'm not sure. Was
it Armageddon? Because I think part of that takes place in Texas.
Yes, Armageddon. Well, no, Andy's not from Texas.
Oh,
Andy's from Georgia, and he was just one of those gaffers that was coming into town with a big Hollywood production to make the movie here. Because that's a normal deal. You get these big Hollywood productions come in. You'll get your out of town DP. He travels with his gaffer and his key grip, and they come into town and then suck up all the electricians and grip. So Andy came in town, brought his best boy Glenn Moran with him, and Glenn Moran and I absolutely hit it off. I mean, we hit it off. You couldn't find two guys that were more peas in a pod. Glenn liked to move quickly and get stuff done, and I enjoyed working hard, and we really got along well. So much so that Glenn and I worked together on several other jobs after that throughout the nation in different places. And as my career blossomed and I went from being an electrician to eventually a best boy and then to a gaffer, well, once I started gaffing, I knew I needed somebody that I could trust implicitly to handle all the behind-the-scenes stuff, the time cards, the crew hiring, and the crew firing at times, as well as all the equipment ordering and that kind of stuff, making sure I had all the tools I needed at my disposal to keep this DP happy and like the set the way he wanted it. And that's the best boy's responsibility, is to make sure all that stuff is done. So, of course, my natural call was immediately to call Glenn Moran. And I said, Glenn, I'm going to start gaffing. I've got this show. Would you would you best boy it for me? And he said, I'd love to. So now we've got the team back together, but now the roles are reversed. whereas before Glenn was the best boy and I was working for him as an electrician, now I'm the gaffer and he's working for me as my best boy. But when you have a relationship like that with somebody that close and you're that professional, when you reach a level of professionalism where it's not I'm the boss or this, you know, that type of an environment, it's not that he was working for me as my best boy. We were working together. I just happened to be the gaffer. He happened to be the best boy. He made sure everything I needed to do my job was there, and I moved us along quickly, and it worked out well. And we started the first job like that, doing that together in Portland? No, it was in Ames, Iowa. No, it wasn't Ames, Iowa. Darn it, where was it? It was in University of Oregon. The Ducks, where are they at? In Oregon. Eugene. It was in Eugene, Oregon. It was the first movie that I did with him. It was just a little bitty independent thing. And it worked out. We sort of got our vibe on, you know, and figured out how well we were going to work together and how it worked. And then we went and we did a little movie called Varsity Blues.
Oh my God, we showed us that in high school.
Yeah, which took us to Austin, Texas to do that movie. So we did that movie. We also did a TV show with Andre Braugher, Rona Mitra, and everybody, and it was called Gideon's Crossing. And that was Marcy and Garrett were the producers on that. They ran that show. That was a good show. But I was really disappointed that show didn't get picked up because it should have. It was a good show. It really was. But again, it was about a cancer hospital, so you know somebody's got to die every week, and I don't know. I guess that's not going to get picked. You know, and then the underlying stories of the young interns and the fellows and all of that, and you know, and it was with Andre Braugher, Eric Dane, Rona Mitra. Who else was on that show? There were several other actors and actresses that I've seen since then in other things. I for the life of me, the name slips.
Right.
But Glenn and I kept our show rolling like that together, our partnership, for a long time. And then Glenn got the opportunity to move up from Best Boy to go rig gaff some great big show. It was like some movie. It's like, hey, we want you to be the rigging gaffer. And he came to me and said, hey, I'm going to go do this. And I said, I think you should, man. That's a great idea. Right on. Good for you. Because, you know, he's moving up the ladder as well. He's doing his thing. So he went and did that. And since then, he's done, oh, my Lord, he's done all the G.I. Joe movies as a rigging gaffer. He does, he's just doing the largest production ever made, which is Perry Mason. That's a huge, huge production. I mean, more located. Because as a rigging gaffer, the number of locations are important because your crew is responsible for making the equipment is there, the cable is already laid in, lights are where they need to be. So when the shooting crew comes in, it's already right there. And they just take it and massage it a little bit like the set and shoot. And then the shooting crew leaves at the end of the day. Rigging crew comes in the next day, pulls all that out, and moves on to the next location and lays it all out again. Well, Perry Mason apparently talking to Glenn is a huge, huge thing. And at any rate, so Glenn's moved on. He's a huge rigging gaffer now. And I finally said I did music. I gaffed music video, commercial for a lot of years. And then I finally one day just said, you know, I think I'm going to shoot. And that was it. I mean, it honestly wasn't a thing where I had been thinking about it for a year and really studying the camera closely and seeing, what does this guy do? What does that guy do? I'd work with some incredible DPs as a gaffer, really, really talented people. And I'd work with some guys that weren't talented as well. I mean, or at the same respect, I work with guys who weren't very nice to work for. I mean, just not pleasant people. I mean, you run across the whole gamut. Some guys are very nice and humble and appreciative of the work that you do. Some guys expect it from you and talk down to you. And so, it just depends. But I think that's in any type of industry, when your boss is that way. But I will say I worked with some very talented guys, guys that I really enjoyed working with, and I learned a lot from. And I have to say there were guys that I learned what not to do from as well. And one day, I honestly just went, I'm going to start shooting. It was that fast and that simple, and that was the plan. And that was it. I reached out to a couple of the guys that I knew, and a couple of the producers that I knew, because I'd worked quite a bit with them as a gaffer, and said, hey guys, I'm going to start shooting. Please keep me in mind if you need a second unit camera or anything like that. And a good producer friend of mine said, awesome, it's about time. Let's do this. And he put me to work right away. I mean, right away. And within a year, I was shooting national campaigns for fast food restaurants and clothing stores and makeup, cosmetic ads, and yeah, it was something else. It just took off, and I was like, awesome, there you go. And that's how I got started in the business. That was it. So there was a lot of years of carrying big, heavy cable through the mud, lots of scars on the arm from getting burnt from lights, lots of headaches and stuff like that. And then here I am on the last third of my career, I like to look at it. I try to break it up into thirds. And here I am at the last third of my career, and I'm a DP doing what I do, travel the world and make commercials.
And what year was that when you decided to make the change? How long had you been gaffing by that point?
I had been gaffing for probably 7, 8 years, 9 years. I'm the wrong guy to ask what year was that.
Oh, okay, got it.
I have a buddy of mine, a DP buddy of mine. His name is Barry Norwood, and he's a very talented DP. But the one thing I'll say about Barry is when you're having a conversation with him, he can go, yeah, do you remember back in June of 2006 when we were in New York and we did this? And I'm like, dude, I remember that job. I have no clue that it was June of 2006. I remember it was hot. I remember it was in New York and it was hot. So I would guess it was summertime, but I am not the guy to ask about years. How many years? What year was that? I can give you ballparks, but not. I can't give you a specific year.
And so wait, when you were gaffing, was that when you moved to LA while you were gaffing?
Oh my God, yes. You know what? I completely skipped all of that. Yes, so I'm living in Houston. I'm doing I'm doing commercials. I had been an electrician there, but I had slowly worked my way up the ranks in that market, in that smaller market, and I was gaffing some stuff. Not big stuff, but some small commercials. And when you're in that size market, you know what? Today I'm the gaffer. You know what? Next week I might be the electrician. So, you just sort of do it all like that, up, down, that type of thing. It's just you get the job basically. Well, a movie had come into town, and it was a movie called The Evening Star. which was Terms of Endearment 2 with Jack Nicholson, Shirley MacLaine, and Stephen Goldblatt was shooting it. I remember that. He was the DP. And the gaffer on that job was a guy by the name of Les Kovacs. Now, Les is, you can take like 10 gaffers in the history of the movie industry that are the top tier gaffers. I mean, just there's 10 of them out there, probably. And if you just took those 10, Les would be in the middle of those guys. He's that guy. Les was Tank Girl, Basic Instinct. I think it was him that actually did the prison movie we referenced earlier. What was it called? The one out on Alcatraz.
Oh, The Rock.
Yeah, The Rock. I think it was actually Les that did that, I think. But Les did all those big movies back in the day. He was the guy. Well, Les came into town, and he had his best boy with him, Benny McNulty, and they had been together for years and years, much like Glenn and I had ended up together for years and years. But Les and I got along really well, and at the end, in that movie, we were together. We worked on that thing for probably 3.5 months. And at the end of that movie, Les said to me, "Hey, kid, if you're ever out in Los Angeles, look me up. I'll get you a job. We'll get you into the Hollywood 728 union." And that, of course, was a big deal to get into. I mean, you didn't just walk up and go, "Yeah, I'm going to work in the film industry." I mean, you had to be in the union, and to get in there, you had to have X number of days working as a permit, and you know, you had to know your stuff. I mean, you couldn't just get a guy off the street to do it. And I said, "Okay, great, thanks, Les. I'll keep that in mind." And I'm thinking, wow, what a great opportunity. One of the biggest gaffers in our industry just extended his hand to me, to say, "I will help you with something." So I'm like, you know what? That's it. I'm moving to Los Angeles. I'm leaving Houston. The heck with this town. I'm getting out of here. Then the best boy, Benny McNulty, said to me very shortly after that, later in the day, he said, "Okay, when we're wrapping these trucks up, I'm going back to L.A. Mark, I'm just going to have you wrap these trucks," because we had these big 48-foot tractor trailers with all of our lights in them. He goes, I'm just going to have you wrap these trucks up, get them packed up. We had to separate them. Like, this truck was going to Paramount Pictures. This truck was going to Trinity Lighting, which was Les's lighting company, his warehouse over in the Valley in Hollywood there, in Burbank. And we had to sort all the equipment out. And it wasn't just a quick little thing. I mean, it took days and days to go through all this equipment to make sure it went onto the right truck and was shipped where it needed to go and stuff. Well, we get it all done and we get the trucks packed, and I have packed one of the trucks in such a way that I convinced the driver, Jimmy, to swing it by my little tiny studio apartment, and I packed my entire studio apartment into the aisle of that truck. I then got into my vehicle and I drove to Los Angeles. And I got there, of course, a couple of days before the truck. Because, the truck only drives like 8 hours a day. Well, I just was driving, and I got there. So I got there. I went walking up to Les's shop and knocked on the door. And he opened. He goes, "Hey, man, what's going on?" I said, "I'm here." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "You told me if I ever get out to Los Angeles to look you up and you're going to put me to work, well, I'm here. Let's do this." And he looked at me and he goes, "Well, where's all your stuff?" And I go, "Well, that's something I think we need to probably discuss." He goes, "What do you mean?" I said, "Well, it's actually in the truck that's coming here to your shop." And he looks at me and goes, "You son of a gun." And I go, "Yeah, what better way? I mean, I'm moving to Los Angeles for free, you know?
Yeah.
So all the stuff shows up, and Les had a van in his shop, and he said, well, you're welcome to use my van to move your stuff if you want. And I go, all right, well, thank you very much. So I had a day and a half before the truck got there. So I needed to find an apartment quickly. So I rented a small little one-bedroom apartment in Laurel Canyon. And when the truck got to Les's shop, I immediately downloaded all my stuff away from the lighting equipment and started loading it into this van, couch, dresser, just perking it up by myself, got it all in there, used his van and moved into my first time, I don't know, it's probably like a 500 square foot apartment, 400 square foot apartment.
Right.
That was it. And got my first, and that's how I moved to Los Angeles. And then, of course, Les helped me. He got me on a rigging crew as a permit, which is getting your days. I got my permit days with Les's help at Warner Brothers, rigging up high in the perms, pulling 4-aught cable up high in the perms, and rigging stages, and then we did the reshoots on a show called Last Man Standing together. And then we did a movie called Batman and Robin together. Yes, with Joel Schumacher and Stephen Goldblatt again. Yes. And we did a Michelle Pfeiffer movie called Deep End of the Ocean. And what else did we do? Well, we did a ton of movies together with me as an electrician working under Les's tutelage. Watching Les work taught me to light correctly, because there's a way to light and a way not to light. And Les was very talented at lighting, very, very talented. And he never said, okay, this is what you do, or this is how you do it, because it's not school. I mean, you're at work. He's not going to, I'm sure if I asked him about something, he would say, okay, here's why I'm doing this. But he doesn't have time for that, nor would I impose that upon him to stop what he's doing and teach me something. You just have to watch it and learn fast. And I did. And I was lucky enough to work with one of the best gaffers ever in Hollywood. And then we were doing that Michelle Pfeiffer movie, Deep End of the Ocean, when I had gotten the call. And what would happen is you would do these big movies, and, they would take, 4 or 5 months at a time. And then we would have 2-3 months off. And then Les would pick up another big movie and off we'd go. We'd go do another big giant movie somewhere. He was at that level in his career. He was the guy. Well, in these 3, 4, 5 month downtimes in between, I would pick up, the occasional commercial and stuff. But I started reaching out to other DPs, and I started getting some work with on these smaller independent films where I could gaff the small movie, and I was doing some of that stuff. Or I would do a lot of the Hallmark movies, the made-for-TV movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I did those with Don Fauntleroy. I gaffed those for him. Don Fauntleroy, who is royalty in Hollywood as well. I mean, he's the Fauntleroy dynasty. I mean, everybody in Hollywood that's in the film industry named Fauntleroy are brothers, sisters, cousins, aunts, uncles to one another. They are all, that is a huge family in the film industry. Huge family. But I was gaffing for Don Fauntleroy for quite some time. And I was doing all these little jobs in between my big movies as an electrician, working for Les. And then I finally got the call to do my first studio picture as a gaffer. And that was Varsity Blues. That was the one. And so I got that, and it actually happened to be with a DP that I had done one of those smaller pictures with before. But we came and we did Varsity Blues, and that was it. And then I gaffed and gaffed and gaffed, for years and years. And I was gaffing all through like the 2000s, late 2000s. Like I did all the Eminem. I gaffed all the stuff for Joseph Kahn. I worked with Dave Meyers. I worked with I didn't work with Dave that much, just a couple of jobs, but because I was generally working with Joseph Kahn. The guy that was working with Dave Meyers, of course, was Jeff Ferrero. He was gaffing for whoever was shooting on the Dave Meyers stuff, which, as I recall, was usually Crash. I think Crash was shooting all that stuff. So and Jeff was gaffing for Crash. At the time, I was gaffing for Omer Ganai. And then I gaffed for him, and I gaffed for Brad Rushing and all those guys. But we did all those music videos back in the day. Did all the Eminem videos. We did all the, what else? TLC videos. I can remember doing a Target commercial with this brand new band, this trio of girls, and they're gonna be really hot. It was a little band called Destiny's Child.
Whoa.
Yeah, exactly. Back in the day. Years later, of course, I would work a lot with Beyoncé when she was a solo artist, and I brought it up to her once. We were in New York doing a direct TV commercial, and I can remember having a conversation with her and saying, I go, you and I have actually worked together a long time ago. And she goes, how long ago? And I said, well, probably longer than both of us would like to remember. I go, but it was a Target commercial with you and Kelly, and I can't remember the other girl's name. And we had you on green screen rotating. And she goes, oh, I remember that. We both sort of laughed at it, that type of thing. But, yeah, so it was interesting.
Right.
Yeah, but I did all those videos back in the day. George Michael, Sexual Freak, DMX. What else do we do? I mean, just all those huge videos.
I remember you got bit on an Eminem video.
I'm sorry, I got what?
You got bit.
Yes, I did, as a matter of fact. I was gaffing, and on the video, I can't remember the name of the song.
Without Me.
But is that the one that those two trailer park girls go around the outside?
Yeah.
Okay, that's the one. Well, there were two girls in a bed, and they worked in the adult industry. And I mean, because back in the day, you always had celebrities in videos doing stuff like that. And these girls had a perfect look, especially for what this was. And they were in there, and I remember taking a light meter out. They're laying there, and I take my light meter out. A lot of you younger guys don't know what that tool is. But trust me, even shooting digital, a light meter is always a good friend to have. Always a good friend. But I'm taking my light meter out, and as I put it in there close, I was one of the girls was sort of laying in the bed, but leaning back on her elbows. And I was taking a light reading in front of her while the other girl was sort of laying across her diagonally. And they were scantily clad, of course, music video style. And I guess my hand was about 1.5 feet from her face. And when I did that, she lunged forward and bit me. And I was like, holy cow, I couldn't, that wasn't pleasant. I remember, and she was just trying to be playful at the time. Like, I don't think she realized how hard she bit and that she broke the skin on my hand.
Ooh.
And, I mean, it wasn't like it was gushing blood or anything, but, it had broken the skin. Like if you were to scrape it really hard against something, how it sort of scrapes, and it looked like that, and I was like, oh my gosh, she just broke the skin on my hand. I remember that. There's always interesting stories from the music video world like that. Well, I suspect that, I take that back. There's interesting movies from the music video world. There's interesting movies from feature world. There's interesting movies from commercial land. I mean, it just depends. If you put yourself in that environment, stories will happen. You know, there was one shoot I was doing for an artist who I will not mention his name for this, but we were shooting him on a three-headed camera rig, a Hydra head, where we basically have three dollies and they're all chain linked together. This is back in the day. Now you can do it digitally, but this was film. And we had these three cameras and they were all locked off on this thing. And it was just pushing in on him so we could sort of do this rack all the way around him digitally in post. And he was wearing, I don't remember, like black cargo pants and a white wife beater T-shirt, you know. And we got that shot, beginning of our day, we got that shot. Then he went to his trailer to change out of the black pants and the white wife beater and to put on khaki pants, these khaki cargo pants, and like a black wife beater, you know, some other change. That's all he had to do. Pants and a shirt. That was it. And he came out of his trailer 13 hours later.
What?
13. I'm not exaggerating.
The ADs couldn't get him out?
Nope. Nobody could get him out. AD couldn't get him out. Director couldn't get him out. The music video commissioner from the label, they couldn't get him out. But you got to remember, this is at a time when there was a lot of money in music videos. So everybody just chalked it up to an artist being an artist. You know, he's doing his thing, fine, whatever. So you just sat around and waited.
And so he was conscious. Like he wasn't like he fell asleep or something.
Oh, no. He had people in there with him. What is that drink? Louis the 13th, Louis the 14th, whatever it is.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. Like, yeah, some sort of Hennessy drink. I don't know, one of those.
Right.
And yeah, so, no, he was in the trailer with some friends and they were partying.
Okay.
And that was it. And he stayed in there for 13 hours before he finally came out. And when he did come out, we got the next shot, and then we moved on to another shot, and then we shot until, I mean, in those days, it wasn't uncommon for you to go 22 hours on set. That was very common with music videos. We on the crew had a saying that was chaos equals cash.
Right.
and it was chaotic, and the chaos on the set equaled cash. I mean, you made more money. You made more money in, you know, a couple hours of overtime than what you would normally make in 2 regular days. I mean, it was crazy the amount of money that was getting shoved into that stuff. It was interesting times, very interesting times. Yeah. I mean, I can remember working on a music video, and I think the budget on that video was like $3 or $4 million for a 2-day shoot, 3-day shoot.
Oh wow.
Yeah, oh yeah. I mean, you go all out, moving lights, rotating gimbals for the floors, and okay, bring in the dogs, and okay, bring in the other colored dogs. Okay, now let's, you know, make that wall explode. You know.
Yeah, I really missed out on that era.
Yeah, it just happened. And the thing was, nothing shocked you working in that era. You just were never shocked by what would happen, because every day it was something different. And it was literally, okay, my job as the gaffer on this set is to light the set, to make sure this all happens, to make sure we're ready to go for the next set. My best boy's taking care of all this other stuff, so I don't have to worry about any of that. I'm just worried about lighting the set and doing my job, making sure the DP has what he needs. That's the important thing. And then I would just put myself in a bubble. You know, I mean, not like literally think, oh, I'm in my bubble. I mean, it wasn't like that, but it's like you just sort of compartmentalized yourself into this. Okay, this is my job. This is what I'm doing. Here's where I'm doing it at. Meanwhile, 15 feet from you, there's some sort of craziness going on, and you just don't even pay attention. You just keep going, just keep moving on.
Yeah, I find there's a lot of like unspoken, silent professionalism in film.
Yes, there's a lot of that. Yeah, there is. I've seen a lot of stuff that would be very embarrassing if it happened to me, or if I were to do that and get caught doing that. It would be very embarrassing. Or if that would accidentally happen to me, that would be embarrassing, let alone if I was a big name. I mean, if I was a celebrity, oh my gosh, with social media now and all the craziness that's out there and the paparazzi. I mean, all we had to contend with was paparazzi doing their thing, you know. I mean, but this was nowadays with social media. Oh my Lord, it's totally different animal now. Yeah, I mean, some of the stuff that happens on a film crew, you just you don't even roll your eyes at it. You just look at it and go, okay, and just keep doing whatever it is you need to do, and offer help if help is needed, and if not, just excuse me, sometimes step over whatever's happening or walk around it, or you know, in some instances, turn around and go the other direction. Yeah. So, yeah, it's true, though. Unspoken professionalism. That's a perfect word. What a great T-shirt that would make.
Right, for crews, yeah.
Absolutely. Film crew. Parentheses underneath it, unspoken professionalism. What a great T-shirt. Good call, Andrew. Way to go, man.
So was that the first time you had been to Los Angeles? Like when you just drove there to move there?
Yes, I'd never been there.
And
I never.
And never. What was your impression? Like, I mean, I don't I've been to LA like once when I was a kid, but I don't really know anything about it. Like, what was your impression of LA? Like coming from, you know, England and Texas and stuff.
Let me think about it for a second. Let me think. Well, at the time, I have to say I was very excited. So, I mean, you know, it could have been Fallujah going on there, and I'd have probably still been just as excited, you know. But because, you know, I mean, I'm in, as I'm doing air quotes right now, Hollywood. You know, I'm really, really excited about that. But, yeah, I think it was just, my impression was excitement. And it had nothing to do with what Los Angeles looked like or how it treated you, because Los Angeles will chew a person up if you're not prepared for it. It's a hard city. It can really chew you up. You know, people always say that about New York. They always say New York will chew you up. I have to say I think Los Angeles probably can too, on a different way, but it definitely can. I don't recall noticing it as being, oh, how beautiful, or oh, how this, or oh, how that. I remember thinking it's very tan, and all the buildings are made of stucco. Yeah.
Yeah, why is that? There's a lot of stucco.
Well, what a lot of people don't realize is Los Angeles is a desert.
Right.
It's in the desert. We built that city in the desert. I do believe, I'm pretty sure, I'm not going to swear to this, but I would bet money on it that I read somewhere that palm trees are not native to Los Angeles. They were imported to Los Angeles. Yes, I do believe. And now they're everywhere. But I don't believe they were native to Los Angeles at all. Right.
Well, that's what the story of Chinatown is based on too, right? With the rape of Los Angeles or whatever the.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. That's exactly right. Exactly right.
And so,
you know what? Thinking about that. I'm sorry. I don't mean to interrupt.
No.
But I just flashed on something when you were talking about Chinatown. Remember how Jack Nicholson had that guy's business card in the movie Chinatown? and I don't remember what the business card was, but he took some guy's like a reporter's card or something like that. But he took that guy's business card, and that's what he used to get in everywhere. He used it like it was like a carte blanche to get into everything with that business card. Yeah, I'm sorry. I just sort of flashed on that for a second.
I'm trying to no. So no, it's interesting how you say that about Los Angeles. Do you mean in like a cultural? I mean, obviously you had a different experience, but I hear a lot of stories of like directors trying to break into Hollywood, of course. And like a friend of mine actually, when he was in his I think mid to late 20s, but his script was optioned and like from Hollywood, and they had Paul Rudd attached to be in the movie and all this sort of stuff. And like he gets flown in, and he goes and does meetings for like 3 weeks or whatever, and everyone, the way he tells me, he's like, everyone's like, oh, you're going to be great, you're going to be the next blah blah blah, and then no one calls you back. Is that what you mean? Like that sort of culture that's really hard on people?
Well, in the film industry, yeah, it's hard like that I never really had to deal with the creative side of it because I was more technical when I first got there. I mean, for me, I was just a hired hand, lift that light, take it over there, so, put 2 18Ks out there on that flatbed, get it ready to go, that type of stuff. So, or, I'm up high setting lights, hanging them off the trusses and stuff. So I was just a technical guy, hard grunt work. For me, it wasn't really creative. But yes, I have a lot of friends that are of the creative nature. And, oh, yeah, it just beats them down. Really does. I mean, I mean, there's, and I think the reason is there is like, let's say, for instance, you're looking for we'll use an actor as an example, but this could just as easily be a director, it could just as easily be the director. We're looking for this actor to be the 6th member of an ensemble cast for the show we're making called Friends. We need one more guy. The guy. Here's what we need. We need a brunette guy. This is the guy. Can you imagine how many people they auditioned before they settled on the guy they settled on?
Right.
And keep in mind, this was a brand new show. It wasn't like they were auditioning for Friends that you know what it is now. It was just some show that was coming up.
Yeah, it was just another audition that week.
Exactly. I have several guy friends and girlfriends in Los Angeles that are actors, and they are constantly audition, and nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then all of a sudden, they book a little commercial, or they book a play, or they book a TV show, and they just, the elation. Because all this hard work that they're putting in, going to acting classes, studying their craft, going to sword fighting classes, learning to ride horseback, because all that stuff's important on the back of their tear sheet. Yes, I know how to fight with swords. Yes, I know how to ride horses. Yes, I can do gymnastics. Yes, I can swim. Yes, I'm a competitive diver. I mean, all of that stuff's important because that could be the one thing that gets you that role, So these people go and do all of this studying, learning all this stuff, and trying to hold down a job to support themselves, and, waiting tables or whatever their job may be, generally not because it's an easy job for them to, you can shift your schedules with each other so you can go on auditions, and you're auditioning full time constantly. And it's the same thing with a director. If a director's going out there, he's going out. He's going to break into Hollywood. He's going to be the next big whatever. Insert name of famous Hollywood director here. But he's going to go out there and do that. Well, he's still got to support himself. And while he's doing that, he's also got to work on his craft. because you can't just be a director. It's like, I'm going to go be a director. It just doesn't work that way. I mean, I'm sure there are plenty of reality shows out there that I've seen that, yeah, it looks that way. And certain things that I've watched over the years that, yeah, okay, whoever directed that, oh, Jesus, you know. But a good director will always be working on his craft, honing his skill. Same thing with a DP. Now, I mean, I'm constantly trying new stuff with a camera. Even, you know, if you were to call me tomorrow and go, hey, I've got this whole 2-day thing I want to do, Mark. If I'm not doing anything else, sure, okay, let's do it. Why not? I'm going to try something different. This could be cool, you know?
Right.
You never know. You always have to be working on your craft. But to get constantly rejected out there from a director's point of view, from the creative point of view that you brought up, yeah, that's really hard. That's got to be hard, man. Really hard.
Yeah, definitely. Like I've been pitching a feature film for last year and this year, and I thought I was going to get it this year, like in January, because like the last year they told me, oh, you didn't get this because you don't have a producer, because I couldn't get because this program was specifically like everybody has to have not made a feature film before. So basically it ruled out like 99% of people that I've worked with. So then I actually signed an EP, like my friends made like 9-10 features. And he's like, yeah, I'll be your EP. So I said, look, I have an EP and I'm going to hire a producer if you give me this money. It's only $100,000 Canadian.
Right.
So it's very little. So didn't get it. This year I got a producer, and I actually even got the president of the Directors Guild to write me a letter because he knows my work.
Right.
And I got a big director here who does a lot of like he directs like Westworld and Hannibal and stuff like that. Got a letter from him, and he's like, I've known Andrew almost 20 years. You know, like you know, he knows what he's doing. Blah blah blah. Still don't get it. And I'm just like, oh my God, what do I have to do? Come on, it's $100,000.
You know, I got to tell you, a lot of times stuff like that. Well, I mean, as much like being a DP. I mean, a job's out there. We're going to shoot this job. The director's the guy, and he doesn't have a regular DP, so he's looking at DP's reels. It can be something as simple as, wow, that guy's reel is incredible. We got to have him. Or it can be something as simple as, oh my God, he shot that job. I remember that because when my wife and I first got engaged, we used to talk about that. And it brings back a good memory for them. So you get hired off of that.
Right.
At the same time, there's also, oh my God, my partner and I broke up to that song on that music video, or that's the song in that commercial, and we broke up to that. So you don't get it because, you know, it just gives somebody a memory. It's a bad feeling. Or then again, it could just be somebody got up on the wrong side of the bed that morning and they're just in a shitty mood. You know, I mean, it could be something as easy as the person who's making the final decision knows somebody named Andrew, and they did him wrong years ago. You know, so
right,
they're going to get somebody.
Well, I don't know if you. Well, I've learned this recently, which comforts me. Did you ever see that movie, The Witch, that came out like 3-4 years ago?
You know what? I have to be honest. I haven't, because if it's The Witch or it's the insert whatever scary thing here is, I generally don't watch those. I don't watch scary movies.
Okay.
Not because I think they're bad. Not because I think they're a bad genre. Just because it just doesn't interest me. It's not my thing.
I will tell you. I mean, I'm not saying you have to watch it, obviously, but
right.
it's a quote unquote scary movie, but it's not like that. And
okay.
It's a really it's actually very interesting because like right after I watched it, like right as soon as the movie ended, like I wasn't, you know, like quote unquote like scared, you know, like normal horror movie scared throughout the whole movie. And then after the ending, even though literally, you know, it's not like the monster came or whatever the hell, I was like it was literally just the shot of the actress Like
Right.
that's all it was. That the whole scene, but it was so just the idea of it was so creepy that it actually got to me. So that kind of movie.
Oh
But
wow.
but anyway, like it's very well known now. Like a lot of modern horror people don't like it. But anyway, like it's kind of hailed as a
I'll check that.
masterpiece. But here's the thing. So I
Yeah.
listened to the director because he just made his second movie or something like that. So they were interviewing him at Sundance.
Uh-huh.
He said that movie got rejected 4 years in a row.
There you
And
go.
yeah, and I'm like, okay, if that guy got fucking rejected, I can take
It's
this.
so serious. How about this? How many freaking years does Roger Deakins have to work before he wins an Academy Award?
Right.
You know? I mean, come on, guys.
Yeah, and when you were talking about actors and working in waitresses and stuff, Edie Falco was still a waitress in her 40s. Philip Glass was still
Yeah.
driving a cab in his 40s, and he was just writing music at night.
I don't think Sam Jackson got off into it until he was much older as well. I think he was moving on in age before. Was it Sam Jackson? Yeah, I think it was Sam Jackson before he finally made it. Yeah, he was quite a bit older.
Right. Yeah.
Oh
So.
yeah, absolutely, man. I tell you what, we've picked a fickle mistress, Andrew. We have picked a fickle mistress.
Right. I know. I long for the days when it was just me and a pencil and I can just create whatever the fuck I wanted to create.
Oh, I'm telling you, you know what? Honestly, all I want to do is I want to go to Colorado and fly fish. That's it. I want to go to Medicine, Colorado. There you go. That's it. And then I want to go do that every day, and then like once every, I don't know, maybe 4 or 5 weeks, leave there, go somewhere, shoot a 4 or 5 day commercial, and then go right back and fly fish some more.
Is that your retirement plan?
No, actually, the retirement plan probably is going to be Budapest.
Really?
Well, I say that until just recently. I mean, they've had a bit of a government
Orban
going on. Yeah, pardon me?
Yeah, Viktor Orban, right? I think Hungary.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they've had a bit of a flip-flop going on over there right now. But until that, I've always just been, oh yeah, I just love Budapest. I really do.
Right.
I do. I love the city. I've had some great experiences there, and I've met some awesome people, and I just, yeah. I tell you what I would love to do. I would love to, in Budapest, do a photo book of their underground train stations.
Oh.
Oh my God. Talk about Soviet era 1940, 50 style. The modern Art Deco in there is crazy. Oh, it's incredible. Absolutely incredible. I've seen some of the most interesting looking train stations ever. And I mean, I've been to Paris, I've been to London, I've been to, I've seen all the train stations all over here. But I gotta tell you, the ones in Budapest are just incredible to look at. Yeah,
every time
I would get off of this rickety old train with no air conditioning, all the windows are already open, and they go. I mean, those trains move really fast too. And every time that train would go, and I'd step off into another station, I would just go, "Wow, look at that! Holy cow!" Yeah, just really not these great ornate things, like you're thinking, like Union Square or anything like that. Or Union Station rather, nothing big like that, but just the design of them with the sharp edges and the chrome and the Art Deco, stancing around, corners and stuff like that. Yeah, it's very cool looking, very cool.
Yeah, no, I'll have to look that up. I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's some very cool train stations in Budapest. And then just travel around the country. That would be the plan. That would be awesome. I'd love that.
Yeah, one of the people in my neighborhood, I see they have one of those really gigantic like trailers, like I guess like I don't even know if you'd call it a coach bus or something, but it's literally just like
Right.
parked on like their lawn.
Well, now here's the thing though. You're saying one of those really big, gigantic coach trailer things. You got to remember, I live in Austin, Texas now. So yeah, everything's huge here. We've got giant ass trailer bus things.
Right. So maybe this was just a medium one compared to.
I'm just kidding. It's like you see those things. They're just like, I mean, these things are like 35 feet long, and they got pop outs on the side.
Yeah. That's what it does. Yeah, I see it popped out.
Yeah. Those things are giant, man. Those things. Some of those things cost millions of dollars.
Oh, I bet. Yeah.
I mean, the really tricked out ones, yeah. Those things are super expensive.
I was just thinking, like, oh, that's actually a really good thing to have during this whole quarantine thing.
Right? I mean, I've got an off-road expedition trailer that I tow behind. I have a 4x4 Toyota FJ Cruiser, and I have an expedition trailer, and I'm about to put a pop-up tent on it. So I have that as like a little off-road expedition tent thing. Because as it is now, I go somewhere and I just have my tent and I set up. Because I like to camp and I like to be sort of outdoorsy like that. I like tent and fly fishing and stuff like that all over the country. But I think I'm going to invest in one of those really fancy pop-up, those rooftop tents and mount it on the top of the trailer. I think that would be cool.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, you got the weather for it down there, so why the heck not?
Exactly. You're exactly right. Yeah, definitely.
So you never went to film school or anything like that?
No. Never. I've never been to film school, never taken a class. I've never, nothing at all. It was all by watching very, very talented people while working very hard underneath them.
And it was like you weren't like, I mean, like you didn't, I mean, I know you talk about comic books before, but you didn't like grow up like watching movies and being like, oh, I want to do that. Like you were on that, you went to that Barney set.
No, not at all. I honestly, that was the first film set I've ever been on. I walked onto the Barney set and looked and went, oh, this is sort of cool. I could do this. And I said to my brother, how much do these guys make a day? And he told me, I'm like, get out of here, really? He goes, yeah, I can do that. And that was it. I mean, that was it right there. That was it. And then, of course, my passion for film grew so much more after. Growing up, the only, I guess, film-related thing that was a big deal in our house was when my dad would always, we would sit down and we'd watch the classic musicals. I mean, Some Brides for Brett, Seven Brothers, Oklahoma. I mean, just Singing in the Rain. I mean, all of the classics. My dad loved musicals, and he still does to this day.
Oh.
My dad loves musicals, and I would sit and watch them with him. And to this day, I still love musicals. I would love to go shoot a big musical. That would be awesome. Oh, that would be fantastic. The cherry on the cake right there.
Did you enjoy La La Land then?
I did. I had a lot of friends that worked on that, so I got to see a lot of their work and appreciate it. A friend of mine, Bogdan, was the techno crane operator on that, so I got to see a lot of his work on there. You just can't have a musical without a crane; it doesn't work. It was good. It was very good. Yeah, I thought it was a good movie. I thought it was a very good movie. I was a bit surprised it won all the awards it won. Not taking away from it, and believe me, I'm not slamming it in any way, shape, or form. But I was like, wow, that thing's gotten a lot of awards. I remember thinking that the night it won what it won. So I was like, check that out.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that guy was just like an Oscar machine.
Oh, absolutely. But I enjoyed it. I did. I think I it didn't have the vintage flavor of the old one of the old movies to me. The backlot feel. I like everything on a backlot, where it's a little fake.
Yeah, it's interesting. Like his taste, like he actually really into like European art movies too. So I think that's kind of what he kind of mixed them up with.
Exactly. I think so. It was yeah, it was an interesting movie. It was good. It was a good movie. Again, though, I'm more of the classics. I mean, my all-time favorite, Seven Brides for Seven Brothers, that type of thing. Love that. With the big backdrops, the fake backdrops, and
Right. I was just looking at the Deacon's posts about Hail Caesar.
Oh, no, I love Hail Caesar.
Yeah.
Holy cow. Hey, would you mind if we continue this tomorrow?
Yeah, sure.
Thanks. The only reason is I got busy and I never got my dogs on the walk.
Oh, right.
Well, what's happening is I'm sitting in my office at my desk right now, here in my palatial estate. Haha. But they're sitting in the doorway of my office looking at me, and both of them and they're going, ugh, ugh.
Aw. I'm surprised you used the actual word instead of spelling it out.
Pardon me?
I'm surprised you said walk instead of WALK.
Oh no, I'm saying it because so and they know it. They're like, it's about damn time.
Right.
It's yeah. They're like, what up? They're like, what up, yo? why you leave us hanging like this today? Come on, man. They'll wake me up again about 5:30 tomorrow morning, 5:30, 5:45, and they'll be ready for that one. So I'll take them then. And then if it's not too hot tomorrow, I'll take them in the middle of the day, which is one they don't normally get because I'm usually busy doing stuff. And then of course in the evening they get another one late at the end of the day.
Right.
And this walk is actually not an exercise thing. This is more like to signal the end of their day for them so they know, okay, time to wind down. We're about to go to bed, that type of stuff.
Oh, that's cute.
Yeah, so I always make sure they get their business taken care of right away. I mean, it's like I always make sure they're fed before I am, and my grandfather taught me that. He said, always feed your pets before yourself. They rely 100%. They rely 100% upon you. There's no reason for you to sit in front of them eating if they haven't eaten. Now, if they have eaten and you're eating, that's another story. That's fine. But you should never, they're your pets. They rely on you 100%.
Right.
So you got to take care of them.
Okay, then. I will let you go. This has been great.
Yeah.
And...
right on.
Okay, I will let you take you. Yeah, I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Perfect. Just text me when you're up and about, and I'll hit you up.
All right, sounds good.
Good. Thanks, man. Bye.
Bye.
So that's the first episode. That is the first part of my conversation with Mark Lindsay. Please hit subscribe, and I'll know whether to keep going with this or not. And if you have suggestions on anyone I should talk to, that would be cool. Send them to me. Yeah, and look out for the second part of this episode. All right. Thank you for listening.